One of the biggest reasons Zoom meetings fall flat is because people stay stuck in passive listening mode for way too long. That's exactly where Zoom polls can completely change the experience. Hi there, I'm Betsy, and I've been on Zoom every day for years, so you don't have to figure all of this out the hard way. And this video is part of my playlist, Zoom Mistakes That Cost You Clients. Because one of the biggest mistakes that you can make on Zoom is expecting engagement without creating interactive moments intentionally. And polls are one of the easiest ways to fix that. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create Zoom polls, how to launch them during meetings, how to improve engagement using the polls, and how to make your meetings feel more interactive and professional. Whether you teach, coach, present, or host in these virtual meetings, this is one of the simplest tools that can dramatically improve participation. As always, the timestamps are below. Use them if you need them. Okay, let's go take a look. So it all starts here inside your live Zoom meeting. Now, as the host or the co-host, you're going to look for the polls quizzes button, and it's going to be along your Zoom toolbar. You can see here it is at the very end. If you don't see it, you're going to want to check that more menu with the 3 dots. When you click the polls quizzes button, you are going to see the polls, surveys, and quizzes that are available to you. Now, stay with us here. I'm going to show you how do these get in there for your Zoom account. That's coming up. As you can see, as you go down, you just pick the one you want. When you put your pointer there, it says launch next to it. Anyone who is in your Zoom meeting live with you is going to see the poll presented to them right in front of them, whether they're on a computer or an iPad or a phone. And then they can interact with you, answering the questions and then submitting them right away. And so you get real-time feedback about whatever you're asking. So this is a great way to ask for pre-assessment, post-assessment questions. Maybe you've taught them something and you want to know if they really got it. So these polls can exist of just one question, or it can be a question where they select all that apply. Let me take you through how to make these, and then we'll come back here and see what it looks like inside the meeting when you are improving engagement with a poll. So now this is a look inside your web portal at zoom.com. You can see there on the left, we are at the surveys option. Now Zoom calls this entire area the surveys area. And inside surveys, you have polls, you have quizzes, and then you also have surveys. And if you need some extra instruction on how to create surveys, we've got a video on that. And it's called How to Use Zoom Surveys. So if you need a video with instructions on how to do that, look for the link to that video in the description below. Follow along here for the instructions on how to create a poll. And that starts by clicking the button in the upper right corner where it says Create. First screen you'll see will ask you what you're creating. In this case, we are creating a poll or a quiz. We'll make sure that's selected and then click Create. On the next screen, you see some areas that you must fill in, starting with the very top in bold, where it says Untitled Poll, and then it has a number. And that number is just incremental over time. And it's going to be a number that you're going to see each time, but you're going to rename it like this. So you're going to put the name of the poll at the top, and this name is going to appear in your polls library so that you know which one to pick at the time that it comes to launch in the live meeting. I tend to ask questions at the beginning of my Zoom meetings about the device that you're using. Because we're virtual and I can't see what kind of computer you're on or what type of device you're using, I usually ask those questions right at the beginning. And then I get the answers, the feedback in real time. And then I can have that information available to me throughout the meeting. So you're going to think about what question would you ask that you want to know from your audience so that it would help you throughout your presentation, your teaching, or your coaching. Underneath there, you're going to click where it says Untitled Question, and that's going to let you type exactly what you want to ask. For instance, so you're going to spell out your question. You're going to make it look exactly as you want it to look. And that means capitals, no capitals, sentence case, because as you type it here, that's exactly how it's going to look. So make it look professional with the right capitalization and punctuation. And then to the right there, you're going to choose what type of question So you click where it says single choice and you get these options. There are many types of questions that you can ask, starting with single choice and multiple choice. Now, the difference here is that when you give single choice, the participant can only pick one. That's where it gets its meaning. There's only a single choice. But to many of us, when we take tests over time, and even when we took tests in school, we have known them as multiple choice. So where you get to pick A, B, C, or D, and you only get to pick one. In Zoom terms, that's called a single choice question. Whereas a multiple choice question is where they can select all that apply. You'll see the other question types: matching, rank order, short answer, long answer. Those are going to be like a fill in the blank that we know it. So if I gave you a line on a form, paper form, and you were filling in the information in that line, that would be a short answer, like if I was asking you for your first name or last name. Whereas a long answer, I might ask you to describe something, and that would be more of a paragraph. And then finally, the one that is called fill in the blank is where you can actually have examples where they have to fill in the words that are missing in the sentence. I'm not going to go through all of these in this video, but you will see by coming back to polls that you can increase engagement quite a bit. If you want some more practice inside a community with like-minded individuals who are all using Zoom to grow their business performance faster, come join us inside the Tech Collective. Just comment the word polls, and I will reply to you with something that I have that is not to be missed, and it will give you the opportunity to try us out. So in this example, we are selecting single choice, and we're going to fill in the choices. So you click where it says choice one, and then you're going to edit out the text that's there. That's just placeholder text. And now in my instance, I like to give the options for the different devices that you could be using. And that's usually something like a Windows computer. And then you're going to click where it says choice two, and you're going to type the text for the next option. I always like to know if you're on a Windows or a Mac. Now I want to know if you're on a tablet. And so in order to get the next choice, you have to click there where it says add choice. You're going to edit out the text and then put in your next option. So I like to put iPad as well as different types of tablets. They might not have an iPad, and I want to know that too. And you can keep doing this, keep repeating it until all of your choices are in. Now, to the right of each choice, there are some symbols. You can either delete a choice if you type too many of them, or you can put your pointer on that 6-dot icon and think of that as the little move icon, kind of like a grid. I like to think of it as a gripper. That's a better word for it, where if you put your pointer on it, you can move things around by clicking and dragging, and you can change the order. Below all of your options, there are some switches. If they're gray in color like they are now, they're all off. So for instance, required. If I want to make this question required, which I do because I want you to engage with me, that's the whole point of this. So when I click there and it changes to that blue color, now it's on. So now this question is required. The other options allow me to change the format. So if I wanted to list these options in a drop down, which means like a little menu, they would have to click and then reveal all the options, I would choose that. I'm going to leave that off because I like the poll to come up on the screen and people to see every single option that I'm offering. And then finally, the create breakout rooms. What this allows you to do is present a question in your poll, and then when you turn on the breakout room feature, it takes it from a poll directly into the separate meeting rooms. So this would be great if you teach different subject matter and you have 3 areas, let's say. For instance, you can ask them, which of the following areas would you like more help on? Maybe you meet with students over weeks and weeks inside of a course, and you're having an event where they can come in for some extra help, but you'd like to know which area. And so you list the 3, and depending on how they answered, Zoom will create separate meeting rooms called breakout rooms based on those topic areas. And then based on how they answered, they will go into those rooms. It's really a fabulous way to engage and create a strong bond with your audience. And then at the very bottom, if you want to add on another question, you can do that. So one poll can have multiple questions, and then they submit all in one. In the bottom right corner, you can see there's a little square with sort of a mountain graphic, and that's so that you can add an image to this poll. If you want to ask a question based on something that they're looking at, You can do that here. And then finally, the 3-dot icon lets you duplicate this question if the next one is similar and you don't want to have to type everything. So you can duplicate it and then edit out the stuff that's different. Or if you had too many questions and this one's just not needed, you could delete this question. So it's really easy to edit. Nothing is really written in stone in here, so to speak. And all of this can be edited weeks before your event begins. Now, in the upper right corner, this is very important because you've just created the options for your question and you want to make sure it's saved before you exit. So up there in the top right corner, you do see a save button, but to the left of there is a preview, the little eyeball. So you could click this if you want to see what it's going to look like to your audience. I would definitely try that out. You can see your one question with the options. You can see what it would look like and that they would have to submit. If you did preview, then in the upper left corner, you want to click that back arrow where it leads you back to the editing like this. Also in the top right corner, there is a gear symbol and that's for settings. And when you click there, it opens up the option that you can require answers to be anonymous. So if you're just gathering data and you don't care to know who answered what, then you can require the answers to be anonymous and you don't know who they came from. A lot of people that come through here and need to run polls do need to make sure that everyone is compliant. And so you don't know who's answering and how they're answering when you're launching, but in your report, if you leave it so that it's not anonymous, then your report will show you by email address and name based on the people who are attending how they answered. And then just click the little X here to get back to where you were. If you wanted to turn this poll into a quiz, you could do that by turning this switch on. And all that does is, instead of just asking them to answer and collect data, you can ask them to answer and then provide behind the scenes which answer is correct. And this is a great way for them to test their knowledge throughout a course or presentation. Next to the save button is a down pointing arrow. And if you click there, you can see that you can save this as a draft. So if you're not quite ready, you did your first question, you have some more questions to add later, you could save it as a draft. It won't be available to launch though. So you'll have to come back here, add in your questions, and then click save. Once you do that, the poll is added to your poll library. You can see the title listed there with the most current at the top. This poll library resides inside your web portal at zoom.com. And it's very important to know that if any of these are not available to you when you go in to log in, you want to make sure that your settings are set so that polls are enabled. And the settings need to be done before you even start your event. And so to make sure that you have all of your settings set correctly, grab a copy of my Zoom Mastery Checklist, and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Once your Zoom polls are created and residing in your Zoom poll library in the web portal, when you are inside here in your live Zoom meeting and you're getting ready for your audience to come in and you want to make sure, just take a look that your polls are there. And you have to be the host or the co-host to do this. So you're going to look in your Zoom toolbar for that polls option. There it is. And you click there and then you look, there it is at the top, the name your device poll. That's the poll you just created, or you created a few weeks ago, or even a few months ago inside your Zoom poll library. And when you hover your pointer over there and you click the launch button, your audience right now is prompted with the poll question. And this is your behind the scenes look at it. You want to talk them through this. They can't see that you can see this, but as they're looking at it, they're going to see your question. What type of device are you Zooming from today? And they're going to see all these options. So what you're going to say to them is, right now, there's a poll on your screen. Please take a moment to answer the question and make sure that you scroll down and click submit. Because as you saw previously, when we previewed our poll, there is a submit button. And it's not until they click submit that you will start seeing the answers come up here. Notice you don't see the people or the people's names. You just see the numbers and the statistics. And so you can urge them that you can tell that not everyone has participated, that they must click submit. And this will include everybody except you, the host, and the co-host. Down at the bottom there, you do have an option to get a QR code. Very interesting that if you have someone that is saying they're not seeing the poll question questions, you can present them with a QR code and they can scan that with their phone and they can answer from there. And then on the bottom right, that's how you end the poll. And before you click that, I'd advise you to prompt your audience and say, we only have about 10 seconds now, so please get your votes in or please get your answers in now because all voting or all answering will be closed. And then you give them that option to answer and then you click end poll. Now, what happens is they will be unable to answer, and you can then talk to them about how they answered, what the different statistics were. Now, this is a simulation, so the numbers right now are not showing in real time, but you will have those results. And when you click that blue button at the bottom, you will be sharing with them the percentages. And so no one knows how each person answered, but you can talk about the percentages and how the class answered as a whole. Again, you can then open it up for questions and comments and see what their feedback is. And maybe one question everyone answered in the same way, but they maybe weren't right. And so that would be a real great entry to conversation and discussion. And then when you're done, you're going to click that red button in the bottom right corner to stop sharing, and your poll is complete. Before exiting, you can click the three-dot icon at the bottom, and you can see that you have three options. You can view the results in your browser. You can download the results. That's a great way to capture how everyone answered. You will get that in the form of a spreadsheet that you can open it up in maybe Google Sheets or Excel. And then finally, there is an option to relaunch the poll. So keep in mind here, if you do relaunch it, if someone says, oh, I didn't get a chance, I need to, give my answer. If you relaunch it, everyone has to take it again. So any data that was from the first time around will be erased and you will have to have everyone answer again. So that's not something I would do if you need to assess the group multiple times, because each time you rerun it, the first group of results will be erased. So what I would advise you to do is have multiple polls all sitting there ready to go and know that you're going to run them at different points during the event. So if your Zoom meetings have been feeling low energy or difficult to engage, Zoom polls might be one of the simplest tools you're not using enough. If this helped you, make sure to like, subscribe, and check out the rest of the playlist, Zoom Mistakes That Cost You Clients. And then I'll see you in the next video.